So now let's look at formation of multiple images by thick plane mirror. Formation of multiple images by a thick plane mirror. So now we are going to look at how a thick plane mirror forms multiple images, okay? After looking at different properties of this plane, the thick plane mirrors having two surfaces for reflection and a transmission. So, as a simple sketch of my idea here, I'll draw my thick plane mirror like that. And then maybe I can have something like this, okay? Silvered here. And then if I have an object here, because an object should be formed by at least two rays, I'll draw this one coming directly and then moving along with the same path, appearing to be coming from this other direction here. And now we are looking at if I have a ray which is incident here, that ray will be reflected this other direction. If it is reflected, part of it is transmitted here in a different direction, not in straight line. Okay? And now this one, if it is reflected, it appears to be coming from this other point here. When the two intersect, we shall be having our first image 1. Okay? Now if that has happened, the part which is transmitted here will be reflected here. Okay? And then if it reaches here, it will be transmitted here and then appear also as well to be coming from this point here, and that is where we are going to have our image 2. Okay? And then what happens is, if this reaches here, it will also part will be transmitted in the air, and then parts will be reflected back in the mirror at this point here, and then again reflected at this point here. At this point, it is transmitted out, okay? And it will be appearing to be coming from this point here, and that is where image 3 is formed, and this is reflected there. And then this one will come, the process will continue, not until there are multiples of images formed, because this one also will come here, reflected here, and now this one transmitted, this one here, let me draw it very well, this one here will be transmitted here, reflected there, and then transmitted, but appear to be coming from some other point at this point here, which is image 4. So that means that even this one here will be coming this other side, and the process continues. In such a case, we shall say that our thick plane mirror is forming multiple images. Is that okay? So I can call this other upper surface X, I can call this one Y. So we have surface X and the lower one Y. All of them can do the work of transmission and the reflection. So I can call this point here, I can call this one here A, and then I call this one B, if this is A. Okay? Something of the kind. So we can start by saying that the light ray from the object, or if I'm calling this one my object, and this one are the multiple images, I1, I3 are the multiple images. The light rays from the object O is actually, before I begin describing this, I would like to first talk about some simple property of this so that you can get it better. And I can say a plain thick mirror has two reflecting surfaces, A and B. So we are saying that this plane mirror has two reflecting surfaces. There is A and B. This one can reflect, even the lower one can also as well reflect. And then from there, after telling you that all those can reflect, and then I'm right to tell you that the light rays from object O is incident on the upper surface A of the thick plane mirror, where it's reflected to form image I1 and the A of the thick plane mirror, where it's partially, and they are partially, so that it can be much more okay, where it is partially reflected, partly or partially reflected to form image I1 and partially transmitted to B, and partially transmitted to surface B. And then I can now say the partly transmitted ray is the reflected internally at B to point maybe say I can call this now C, to point C, where it's again partly reflected internally to the lower reflecting surface B, to the lower reflecting surface B, and partly transmitted air resulting into formation of image I2. And then the successive reflection and transmission results into formation of multiple images. That is what we could actually write about a plane mirror. How images are formed, the number of them when we are having a thick plane mirror. So we said number one, our idea is like this. We have an object. To have an image formed, we should have two rays. One is the one that's going perpendicular and moving along on the same path. Another one will come here. We said if the rays happen to come at this point here, an observer is here, seeing all the images being formed. Seeing all the images being formed. Okay? So if the ray is incident at this point here, first of all we said that a plane thick mirror has two reflecting surfaces. There is the upper one and the lower one. And now what happens is, if the ray come around is incident at this point here, we say the part of it is reflected, okay? And the reflected one appear to be coming from this point here. Where it appears to be coming from is where our image is formed. And now if it is part of it is reflected, part of it is transmitted in the plane thick mirror. Now the transmitted one, when it reaches at point B on the lower surface, it is reflected up. If it is reflected up at point C here, again at point C here, what happens is part of the ray is reflected in air and appear to be coming from this other point to someone who's seeing here when it is being transmitted. I mean, when it is transmitted in air here, it appears to be coming at point I2, and this other part is also reflected inside. So the process keeps on continuing that even the part which is transmitted at this point, the part which is transmitted here, which is reflected here, is transmitted, is again reflected at this point upward, and then part moves out. The one which moves out appears to be coming from that point, and the process continues, resulting into formation of multiple images. Let's look at some note under this. Let's look at something very important to note. I'm rubbing off this. It should be noted that not, you can put this as not that the farthest images formed are faint due to loss of intensity as a result of multiple reflection and transmission. That the images, we have looked at number of images being formed. Somewhere here we had I1, we had I2, we had I3. We are saying that as you move far away, what is very true is that these images become faint. They no longer look very clear Why are they not clear? We're saying that the reason is because of at every point we're looking at, there is a division of intensity. That the light rays which comes, part goes up and part goes in. That means it divides. Therefore, if it divides, that means that the intensity is going to reduce. Okay? And again, we're saying that if it divides, because it will come reflected and appear to be coming from this side. This one is transmitted here. Now, the one which is transmitted, when it comes back again here, it also again divides into two. Meaning that part will move in air and part comes. That means that at every point there is a division. There is a division. There is a division. And that division is reducing on the intensity of the rays. And the reduced intensity of the rays will result into faint images. That is what you should know about that. And then maybe too, you can also say this effect here of producing faint images as a result of continuous reflection, we can also avoid it by using a glass prism. Okay? We shall look at that when you're looking at it. Glass prism. The effects of the reduced intensity and so forth due to reflection and what can be reduced using a glass prism. And then after looking at that, let's look at comparison between the thick plane mirror and a glass prism. Okay? Can we actually compare the the thick plane mirror and the glass prism? One, the silvering in the thick plane mirror wears off with time, which is not a case of a glass prism. Is that okay? So we are saying that number one is that in the thick plane mirror, they have some silvering, some kind of painting that is done behind them. So if the mirror spends long time, you realize that all those paints are now going off. And if the paint goes off, that mirror will no longer perform its purpose. That's why we're saying that the silvering will wear off with time. But we don't do any kind of painting in a glass prism. Is that okay? We don't do any kind of painting in glass prism. That means that it will not be affected by that. And then two, we can also say that thick plane mirror forms multiple images, unlike glass prism. So we have just looked at that in thick plane mirror, they result into formation of multiple images. They form a number of multiple images as a result of the continuous or successive reflection and transmission. Reflection and transmission will result in a number of images, but that is not very true with thick plane. That is not true with the glass prism. And then lastly, there is loss of energy in thick plane mirror due to loss of intensity as a result of multiple reflection, unlike glass prism. Okay, so we are saying that also it is very true that in the thick plane mirror we looked at there is some multiple successive reflection and transmission that will cause some loss of energy, hence intensity, and that reduces, or we say it makes the image to be more faint. But we're saying that does not even happen in glass prism. So that makes even glass prism having some advantage in that case. So that those 3 points are our comparison between the thick plane mirror and the glass prism. Thank you.